What's going on, guys? Carson back here once again with another watching the Harry Potter for the first time. This time I'm getting ready to watch Harry Potter Part 4, I believe. This one's the Goblet of Fire, Cup of Fire, something like that. So yeah, I've really got a chance to enjoy Part 3, so now my hype meter for these movies is getting higher and higher each time. So now I hear they're going to start to get really good around this point. So I'm really looking forward, to say the least, to watching these movies from here on out, kind of like I said at the end of my last review. So what are my expectations for the fourth Harry Potter movie? So when I hear, like, typically in like a fantasy movie, if you hear like a term Goblet, I kind of think Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, Last Crusade, basically, where they have to go look for the Ark of the Covenant, and then they run into Jesus' cup and have to use that for the powers of resurrection. And it turns out in Harry Potter realm, around this point in the movies, there's a certain character who shall not be named / Voldemort, who needs to be brought back to life, basically. So this tells me maybe some bad guys looking for something called the Goblet of Fire to use that to bring Voldemort back to life in order to plague Harry Potter and his friends and all that stuff. So that's my guess as to what the Goblet of Fire is without knowing anything else about what I'm about to watch. So I'm guessing there's going to be a bad guy. He's going to get the goblet. Harry and his friends have to hop in and stop him before they bring Voldemort back, even though he's probably going to be brought back. So there's that, and it's probably going to start off, he's probably going to be at home. Will he be at home? Because he did kind of get told last time if he goes away, he's not supposed to come back. So will this finally be the movie where we don't have to deal with that annoying family of his, or is it going to be, let's spend the first 10 minutes for the fourth movie in a row watching his family be the fodder for the joke, the foil, what have you. So maybe I could do without those. Of course, I get why people enjoy those scenes, but we'll see. And will that little Jar Jar wannabe Dobby come crawling back in? I really enjoyed the last movie because he wasn't in it, but we'll see. I think I got a little bit of flack for my Dobby hate, but apparently he's going to be back at some point. But I'm really looking forward to, just the continued character building of Harry and his friends here. So we'll see what happens when Harry finds this supposed Goblet of Fire. So I'll be right back here in a second, or in my reality, like 2.5 hours. So here we go. And I'm back. Just got done watching Harry Potter 4. And wow, this one really did an awesome job wrapping itself up in like the last 20 or 30 minutes or so. I really enjoyed like seeing the unexpected rise of Voldemort, which I guess in my predictions part of the video, wow, was I way off on what the Goblet of Fire was. I just way overthought that thing, but I guess it was kind of cool. I was right, like, we're finally getting Voldemort at least. I figured since it was that halfway point, I know there's 8 of these movies and this is the 4th one, so I figured since it was the halfway point, they had to get Voldemort into the picture at this point going forward so he can start to cause that chaos and be the bad guy for the second half of the whole Harry Potter series. So I was very happy that they didn't skimp on that. So the arrival of Voldemort, obviously a gigantic deal going into the end of this. But the whole thing relies around this, like, it's some sort of, I kind of wanted to call it a tournament, but it's not really, even though like has rankings and stuff. But there's like a contest between 3 schools, even though Harry's name gets thrown in there anyway by this new Professor Moody, which I really enjoyed that character, by the way. He's definitely, I'll just say it now, he's one of my technically MVPs. We'll get more into that in a second, but Professor Moody, I thought he had an awesome look. The actor did a great job. Just overall, really enjoyed that character and what he added to this story, because usually, like, I find in most of these Harry Potter movies, they always had like one new professor who either turns out to maybe be the bad guy or have a power that's like his crutch or something, and Moody seemed to be the one for this movie. But I feel like he's definitely the strongest of the characters so far. I think each movie they improve upon that aspect of who's the new professor and what's he going to add to this tale, basically. I think Moody's been the best so far, or has he? Because we get one of my favorite actors, David Tennant, as Barty Crouch Jr., even though Barty Crouch Jr. is played by the character who plays Moody, because you find out at the end the guy we thought was Moody was Crouch Jr. the whole time, even though they both did a great job with like the little slimy tongue looking thing. But I was very happy to see David Tennant, because I'm also a pretty big Doctor Who fan, and he's one of my favorite doctors. So I find it pretty hilarious that David Tennant can play such a likable character in The Doctor, and then play this complete scumbag slimeball, just awful character in this. So it's always awesome. And then just his work in Jessica Jones too, where he was a villain in that, and then the way he kind of meshed both worlds in Broadchurch. I'm a pretty big David Tennant fan, so he was always enjoyable. Hopefully we'll get to see more of him. They'll break him out of Azkaban, hopefully. So always enjoy seeing David Tennant any chance I can in a movie or TV show. But back to Harry Potter here. I did enjoy the whole Goblet of Fire tournament, contest, whatever you want to call it. Even though, like, at the end, Dumbledore apologizes to Harry Potter for putting him in danger. But was there not, like, always a danger in these contests? Especially, like, the one that really bothered me the most is, like, where they have to go underwater for, like, an hour and find something that was taken from them. It turns out that something was other students who were, I don't know if they were underwater for an hour, like, dead or what. But, like, that was a pretty low move to, like, capture 4 students and trap them underwater and force these other 4 students to rescue them or not. Like, that was pretty cold, and no one really had any repercussions on that one. Like, what was that about? But somehow I get then again, like, there's no real imminent danger, because like the one girl from the girls' school, I guess, I can't remember the name of it, but like, she always almost fails, but yet she doesn't die from failing in these contests. Yet when we see Harry have to rescue these people in the contest, you feel like there's that imminent danger. So, like, if he only rescued one person instead of 2 in that water challenge, like, would they be dead? Or would they have just, like, been really bitter? Like, hey, thanks for leaving me to drown, buddy. So, like, we never really get an answer to that. So that was something on my mind when the credits were rolling. But I think the big, huge takeaway here was, like, why was Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire and all that stuff? When we find out toward the end, it was a big conspiracy to get Harry in front of Voldemort's remains, basically, so they could use his blood and brand him and get Voldemort resurrected. So I really enjoyed it. It really reined everything in for me, because I was kind of ready to almost, like, not like this movie as much as the last one, but the whole ending sequence really reined it back in for me, because now I feel like they got a plan not only for the next movie, but the rest of the franchise going forward. So I really, really enjoyed that. Now the runtime, I always have to kind of say something about the runtime. I feel like it is a little bit longer than I would hope for, but I really did enjoy the flow and pacing a lot more than, say, the first 2. Which the first 2 I was kind of like checking my phone, like I said in those reviews, and kind of drifting off from time to time. But this one, like, even though it did have the filler, like the whole dance scene, the whole with the dance, you could probably cut that if you needed to, but I understand why it was there, because you got to develop those relationships between Hermione and Ron and so on and so forth. But I didn't, it kept my attention the whole time, no problem. I actually enjoyed that little extra character build instead of feeling like that was filler. But 2 hours 45 was a little bit too long, but I did really enjoy the content all across the board here. MVP for, like I said, it's Moody, but technically that character was Barty Crouch Jr. So I guess I really enjoyed that particular character. Maybe in the next one we'll get to know the real Moody and see if there's any differences, or maybe Crouch Jr. was just that good at being that character. Kind of looking forward to seeing how that works out. If maybe I'm overthinking all that too, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to that if it does happen. And then kind of my not MVP, I guess, if you will. I mean, is there really one to pick here? you know, I didn't really have a problem with anybody in this one. I mean, some people might expect me to say, oh, you're going to pick Robert Pattinson for Twilight. I thought he was fine. I've never had a problem with that actor. I always thought he was great. It would have been nice if they could have introduced that character maybe a movie or two earlier, because he's kind of just thrown in there. That way, when he does have to get killed at the end to bring back Voldemort, that means something a little bit more, because obviously it's a very emotional scene, the way they shoot it, the way it's directed. But just imagine the emotional impact if you got to know this character a little bit through a couple more movies. Because other than that, he's a little bit of a friend to Harry, but you never really get a chance to really know him. He's just kind of there for the most part, and he's nice to Harry from time to time. So I wouldn't mind seeing that character through more movies, but I did have a really favorite scene in that ending sequence, which it reminded me of a comic I read. So most people who follow my channel are comic fans, so I figured I'd just go ahead and throw this comparison out there. So I really like that scene at the end where Harry is forced to duel with Voldemort, and there's like this like bubble around them with like the ghosts of Harry's parents coming in. And that reminded me of a really fun scene from Infinite Crisis. I think it was issue 6, if I remember right, where Bart Allen, Kid Flash at the time, he was working with Wally, who was the Flash at the time. They were trying to run Superboy Prime in the Speed Force when he just snapped and started killing the Titans left and right. And basically, they run him in the Speed Force because there's no other way to contain him. There's no power on Earth to contain the rage of Superboy Prime, so the only thing they can think of offhand is the Speed Force. So when they're running him into the Speed Force, the only person left, because actually you got the original Flash is there helping him run too, and he's kind of older, so he can't keep up, so he falls off the trail. Wally ends up having to leave to go grab his wife and kids because he's not leaving him behind, and you know, his wife's like, nope, you're not doing what Barry did. You're not keeping us behind, and you're not making the ultimate sacrifice. So she reaches into the Speed Force and grabs Wally. So it's just little Bart by himself, this underdog hero, kind of like Harry Potter is here. And Superboy Prime's like, what are you doing? You don't stand a chance against me. And then that's when you see like almost the ghost from his past, like Max Mercury comes in, and then his grandpa Barry Allen comes in. That's where the really emotional punch is, because in continuity, you hadn't seen Barry Allen for a while at this point. So he comes in and he's like, it's okay, son, we got it. And then it's like the exact same scene. So I really enjoyed that, just because it called back from something it didn't even mean to call back from, I'm sure. So I definitely enjoyed that for sure. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and give this an 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, I was ready to get like a 7.5 or an 8, but that ending sequence from top to bottom really bumped it up a whole point for me. I really enjoyed that whole ending part, and really makes me look forward to the next one for sure. So big thank you guys for watching this once again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time,